Dave Davis, the Executive Director of the Community Environmental Council.
Dave Davis, Executive Director of the Community Environmental Council. We've been here 40 years. We stand, as you know, for a sustainable community here. We believe Santa Barbara should be a place that moves away from its use and its dependence upon fossil fuels. Measure B is a move in a wrong direction. It is not, in today's world, an environmentally responsible proposal. Measure B would limit our future options to respond to this region or our nation's economic and environmental challenges of the 21st century. It will limit the opportunities to house local workers downtown near their jobs. It will require more people to commute long distances in their cars, resulting in the burning of more fossil fuels and an increase in greenhouse gas emissions. It will increase our city's carbon footprint. Measure B, if passed, would be a serious step backwards in our efforts to create an environmentally friendly future for our children and their children. Please vote no on Measure B.
Next we'll hear from Hillary Blackerby with the Democratic Party of Santa Barbara.
Hi, like she said, I'm Hillary Blackerby. I'm Secretary of the Democratic Party of Santa Barbara County. And the Democratic Party is opposed to this proposed charter amendment because we believe in the basic principles of fairness and opportunity. By making it harder to protect our environment and provide housing, Measure B, we believe, is an attack on the progressive principles that Santa Barbara embodies. Ballot box planning is not the answer, just as ballot box budgeting isn't the answer on many levels, and we believe in the basic principle that you should be able to live where you work. So vote no on Measure B.
Finally, we'll hear from Nikki Flax, representing the No on B Coalition, and after she speaks, we'll take a few questions.
I'm Mickey Flax, co-chair of the coalition and also a proud member of SBPAN, which has endorsed no on Measure B. This is quite a breadth of coalition. People from all sides, many political points of view, many stages of life, many primary interests, have all come together to oppose Measure B. Why? Well, one reason is that, for instance, 35% of our most treasured buildings, as defined by the Historic Landmark Commission, 35% of them are over 40 feet. This is not a town of two-story flat roof buildings. This is a town of some taller buildings, some shorter buildings, an interesting architectural and cultural mix. That's what we want to preserve. We don't want to see the town degenerate into two-story flat roof buildings a la some community success. In addition, we do believe that Plan Santa Barbara is the place to discuss not just height issues, but things that really concern, I think, most residents. Setbacks, design issues, open space, the kinds of things that are important in designing buildings going way beyond simply height. But the initiative has to have a single focus on law. So all they could do is height, which I think for those proponents of Measure B, they sort of cut off their nose to spite their face. They too are interested in setbacks and open space and design issues, and those are not addressed by Measure B. Finally, three basic principles of sustainability are the three E's: the environment, the economy, and social equity. We've heard about all of them. Measure B would potentially damage the environment by encouraging sprawl, how it would damage the economy by reducing property values unnecessarily, and how it would damage social equity by making the building not just of low-income housing, but also of desperately needed moderate-income housing more difficult and more costly. So for all of those reasons, we proudly support no on Measure B and urge all residents to vote no on Measure B.
We'll have you take questions here, or all the spoke people will be available afterwards for individual questions if that's easier.
You know, I hear from the other side that they gave you 2 years to get the job done. The city council blew it. They didn't act. You had your chance and you blew it. Anybody want to respond?
In fact, the city council tried to act. It asked, and maybe Das would like to comment on this, it asked the ordinance committee to come up with a measure that would in fact consider not just heights, but setbacks, open space, and so on. But the idea was that the Measure B people sort of had a gun to their head in terms of timing. And when we proposed a compromise that would allow the process to unfold and get it done via the city council, this was rejected by the Measure B people who preferred to hold the gun.
I would say even more substantively, immediately when the issue came up, we had a workshop and it was determined that people in the HLC and ABR felt like they didn't have the tools to say no. And so we formulated design guidelines, 8 principles of design that any ABR or HLC decision could be easily made and easily reject a project that they do not feel meets those guidelines. So we were asked to give them additional tools to say no if there was a bad project. We gave them additional tools to say no if there was a bad project.
One last one. I mean, everybody cites the 3 projects on Apollo Street is the big, overwhelming behemoths that are swallowing up Santa Barbara skyline. And a lot of people react very emotionally to it. It resonates, obviously, 11,500 signatures. Your reaction to the extent to which those are acceptable?
I think one of the things that you need to understand is the information that was put out there by the proponents of Measure B showed about 10 more of those projects being built in the next 2 years. And that didn't take any consideration for the economic factors, and they even admitted themselves that their graphs and their information misrepresented projects in the pipeline versus historical projects that were built. So I think everyone understands that we need to listen to the community, we need to design buildings that are appropriate. There's much better ways to do that than ballot box planning, and basically cutting 30% off of the top of Santa Barbara is not the way to address those kinds of issues on those buildings. So this is a long-term view, and we need to take that into consideration.
Nick, I want to add, I think all of us acknowledge that there's lessons to be learned from those buildings. And I think, in fact, additional setback is one of the key lessons that we've learned. So we're not defending those buildings, but they're a product of a particular time and place. And I think this community, as Doss has mentioned, has moved beyond and has the tools to do it better the next time.
It's also worth noting that the leader of the Measure B campaign, Bill Mahan, was on the planning commission that voted to approve both of those buildings, and in fact, reduce the setbacks that had been proposed.
Thank you all for coming, and again, we'll have people available to answer additional questions. Thank you.